Hey everybody, this is the third of three videos focusing on the gear that I'm going to be taking on my upcoming elk trip. In the first video I covered basically what was on my backpack and the clothing that I'll be wearing. Second video focused on my sleep system, cooking equipment, things like that. And in this final video kind of focusing in on the equipment that is related to the hunt. So my bow setup, optics, calling equipment, and also some of the electronics and other assorted equipment that I'm planning on taking. Again, we are planning a combination of truck camping and also backpacking in and camping wherever we can hopefully find the elk. So exactly what I'll be carrying on my back may vary a little bit from day to day, but generally this is what I'm going to be taking. So first of all, to start with my bow setup, taking basically the same bow I took 2 years ago, with a few little adjustments. Shooting the Hoyt Power Max. I shoot 60-pound limbs. This actually pulls at 61 pounds currently, and I shoot a fairly short draw length. Did put a new string on it this year. Been shooting quite a bit, getting ready for the trip. Played around with a couple different sight options and ended up going back to the sight that I have been historically using on this bow, which is the Fuse basic 3-pin sight. I have them set at 30, 40, and 50 yards, and then I have the ability to shoot out to 70 with my current adjustments on my sight. Drop away rest. Vapor Trail Pro V drop away, limb driven rest, and also a Hoyt stabilizer, fairly short stabilizer. My preference is to keep it as light and as easy to carry as possible. This is a fairly light setup. The arrows that I'm shooting are the Easton Axis 5mm, and I shoot the Ramcat Diamondback Broadhead. Fairly light setup. Some guys might think that this is ultimately too light, but it penetrates great, super accurate, and that's what I'm going for. So I think we'll be fine as far as that goes. Let's see, a couple other things. I don't have it with me. I do shoot a release. The Little Goose release is from Scott is what I typically carry. I also have a spare release that I carry in my extras bag as well. So let's see. Kill kit. If we are successful in putting an animal on the ground, we'll all be carrying at least pieces of our kill kit. So I have the, I'm not sure exactly how to say it, Agilis synthetic game bags, come in a pack. And then what I've added in there along with is the basic items that I think most guys carry in case we get an animal on the ground. Paracord, 50 feet of paracord to use for whatever purpose we need. Some latex gloves, some wet wipes for cleaning up, contractor bag, which I can use either kind of open it up and use it to put meat on or to put meat in if I need to. Any number of uses, or just to put trash or debris in, either at camp or in the process of processing an animal. Also, I do carry fluorescent ribbon. This is something I do all the time, even when I'm deer hunting, is just a little bit of flagging tape. If you happen to wound an animal and you're following a blood trail, it's always good to have this to kind of help mark your spots. And certainly with Onyx and some of those things as well, that gives you some other options, but this is always good to have. My knife for processing, I have the Outdoor Edge Razorlight EDC 3.5-inch folding knife with the replaceable blades, as well as carrying a spare blade in my kill kit, and then I also have some spare blades in my extras bag as well. These are kind of, along with several other replaceable blade knives, one of the tried and trues. Also carrying something I carry all the time is I carry a neck knife. This is pretty much with me all the time at camp, hiking, walking around, whatever. Just a good handy knife to have. This is a custom knife made by M&T Knives, and super sharp, handy little knife to have. So I'll have that on me as well if I need that, but typically we'll have 2 knives. Let's see, what else? Optics. I have some pretty basic optics as far as I don't carry a spotting scope. Most of the areas that we have typically hunted so far in Colorado, it's been, it hasn't been particularly the country that you could do a lot of long range spotting, so it's fairly thick. I do carry binoculars, fairly low end binoculars, Bushnell Trophy 10 by 42s, but I like them. They work good. I have had no problems with them. They're clear. They don't fog up. They're handy, and they were relatively inexpensive. Had these for a couple years now. I use these not only on the Western trip, but also a lot of hunting on the East Coast, deer hunting and such. So one new addition this year is I picked up a FHF gear bino harness. I actually picked this up used from a fella out west. So I'm going to try that out this year. Real comfortable for carrying, secures the binoculars. It also has a couple of pouches underneath, zipper pouches for, you can put pretty much anything in here. I think I have my lens cloth in there. You could put your license or tags in there if you want, or really anything else. I'll probably carry my tags in there at some point. Speaking of tags, Colorado elk tag, you do have to carry in Colorado not only your license and tag, but also your hunter safety card from whichever state you obtain that. In my case, Pennsylvania. So I have my Pennsylvania hunter safety card as well as my Colorado license that needs to be on you at all times when you're hunting in the state of Colorado. So I'll probably keep that in the bino harness since that'll be with me all the time. Assorted other equipment, rangefinder. I have the Bushnell rangefinder Team Primos model, or Team Primos edition, clear shot. Nice little rangefinder, accurate, has the angle compensation. So if you're on a hillside, either shooting downhill or uphill, it compensates for all that. So that'll be definitely on me. I have a rangefinder pouch from FHF, which I can either mount on the bino harness or I can mount it on my exo pack. I think I'll be carrying it on the belt of my exo pack. Seems to be the most comfortable place. I also have the lanyard, which clips on, so it allows you to basically, you don't lose your rangefinder in the heat of the moment. Calls, I played around with a number of different calls this summer practicing, and as far as diaphragms are concerned, I felt most comfortable with the Rocky Mountain hunting calls, diaphragms, both the cow call and the bull bugle. Tried some other ones, not that there was anything wrong with them, just these were more comfortable, diaphragm in my mouth. Seem to be able to make the best calls with them, at least for me. I also have a Rocky Mountain bugle tube, which I'll be carrying, basically to give you more resonance and also more sound traveling, depending on the distances. Let's see. This bag is just kind of assorted little extra possibles bag. There's pretty much, I'm not even sure what all's in here at the moment. My archery equipment spares. I have some spare D-loop cord, a spare peep sight, my Allen wrenches, that type of stuff in case I need to work on my bow out in the field. Mini Bic, like I said, I have several of these. That's one there. Chapstick, some extra blades for my outdoor edge. Let's see what else. Compass. We will be using, like pretty much everybody uses now, Onyx. We'll have Onyx on our phones. I don't carry a separate Garmin with me. I do have a Spot emergency transponder, but pretty much rely on Onyx and my phone and a topo app that I use on my phone for navigating. But I do have a compass in case we're to get turned around and we need to do that. And that's pretty much it. A couple little sewing items in there, and that's pretty much it. This bag is pretty much just a whole bunch of like the electronic equipment that I might have. A lot of my photos and video and such that I generate is done on my phone. I have an LG Android phone, but I am carrying a camera. It's a fairly straightforward Canon PowerShot A590. It's an older one, but it does video, it does stills, takes pretty nice pictures, works off an SD card. So I'll have that as well for hopefully capturing some of the memories of the trip. Lights. I have a headlamp here. I didn't touch on this. Basically, we'll have this with me at all times. And then also as a spare, I have a solar-powered flashlight. This is actually the hybrid light. This was actually a Rocky Mountain Elk Foundation a fundraiser. Picked this up. It's a solar-powered light, so basically has several settings. But what I also like about it is it has a USB rechargeable port, so I can use this to charge my phone as well. So it kind of serves a dual purpose. Or I can use that. I can also charge it or plug it in if I need to. Let's see what else. This is my backup release. Again, that's not my primary release, but that's my backup. And let's see what else we got. Radios. We do carry radios. These are Midland GTX, pretty standard two-way radios. They have, I forget how many channels. They don't have the greatest distance in the world, but they work for an emergency and if we're trying to communicate in some fashion. We don't really use these actively hunting. It's just in case we need to get a hold of somebody at the truck or whatever's going on. If we don't have cell service. I mentioned that I have a Spot. I do carry a Spot Gen 3 on my pack, and this is basically your standard GPS emergency locator. It can send a pre-programmed message as well as my coordinates so my family knows where I'm at. If there is an emergency, it has two different levels of emergency notice. I can notify my own family, or if I have a serious emergency that I need emergency responders, I can send an SOS message and they'll call out the troops. Let's see. Camo face paint. I don't know that I'll necessarily be carrying that, but I have it with me. Cord to charge the phone the flashlight if I want to plug it in. Probably won't be carrying this because we won't have that opportunity, but I'll use the solar charge. Just a couple other loose ends, some spare batteries for my various equipment, mostly AA, AAA, and a spare battery for my rangefinder. Also a spare SD card, which I can use for my phone or my camera. And also, I don't have it here, I may carry a trail cam, or at least have a trail cam or two at the truck to set up if we find a wallow or something like that. We want to set up and see what's moving around. So I have some spare SD cards. Not sure if I covered the trekking poles. Trekking poles, I use the Lecky Micro Vario trekking poles. Probably just carry these with me for use if we're lucky enough to get an animal and we're packing out. Or if we're in some really steep terrain and we need that to get around. And then one other item I'm planning on carrying is just this little Daiwa mini spin spinning rod setup, and some tackle. I carry a real basic little tackle, set up some spinners and some swivels and things. If we find a nice stream and have a few minutes to try to catch some trout, may take advantage of that. The elk license in Colorado also provides you with a fishing license, which allows you to do that. So I think that's about it. I probably have a few items that I didn't pull out that I'm still packing up, but this is pretty much what I'm going to be carrying. So hopefully it'll work for me. Hopefully next time when we get out there, we'll get some video footage as far as the trip's concerned, and hopefully we'll be lucky enough to get an animal on the ground and take you through that process as well. Wish everybody the best of luck this season, and hopefully we'll be out there joining in a couple weeks.